You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhage was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strong stop, Shipley. Richie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you to break down a wild game here at the Meridian Centre where the IceDogs take it 5-4 in overtime over the Ottawa 67's. We'll get the scoring summary, the game stats, hear from head coach Ben Boudreau, as well as Cam's player of the game later tonight. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in tonight live on our YouTube channel, YouTube Live. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, to smash that bell to be notified whenever we go live for our post-game shows and other content on the network. And thank you to everybody listening the next day on Friday on your favorite on-demand audio platforms. Give us love, whatever one you chose to listen to us today. Cam, initial thoughts. What a game here on a Thursday night with the Ottawa 67's coming in town. Dave Cameron going to be coaching Team Canada at the World Juniors. Well-coached 67's group. And for the first half of the game, this looked like one that was going to slip out of the IceDogs' hands. And their top players take over in the end and give the 2,774 fans here at the Meridian Centre tonight a heck of a finish.
I mean, in a season that has already seen a number of statements being made by the IceDogs, that was one of the statement wins of the season, right up there with the beatdown of the Brampton Steelheads. So just an incredible performance, and the resiliency of the Niagara IceDogs to remain at the top of their division, one of the most competitive divisions in the OHL. Just an unbelievable performance. That third period was worth the couple years of rough experiences as a fan for IceDog fans. Just a great finish to a really fun hockey game, to be honest with you.
And before we get into all of that, Cam, quickly go over the lineup here. What did you think of how Ben Boudreau kind of went about it tonight? No Owen Flores. He'll miss one more game tomorrow in Kitchener for the rest of his suspension.
And no Matthew Paris again, so he's still out with injury, but he loaded up the first line. So Kevin He on the left with Loshko, who they've been attached to the hip since the start of the season, but Ryan Robrick moves up to the top line, and they have really done a great job chemistry-wise. I think Ben said it a number of times last year, you play your best players the most, and he's really earned that. So him being moved up, I think the real impressive part was, or what you're seeing now, is the lineup flexibility offensively, where last year you really just had Kevin and Ryan leading the charge, and then Gavin Bryan, obviously, with a great offensive season, but he isn't even in the lineup yet. And the forward core, the second line, Brady Waslin has looked fantastic in terms of offensive creativity. I feel like there's sometimes he's going through that rookie phase where he's a little snake bit, especially tonight, because I thought he looked great. He created some fantastic chances, but just didn't have that finish yet. And he was centered by Asador and Ryan and Ethan Zada moving up to wing. So moving him off the faceoffs. I believe he had a rough game a few nights ago. The game against Owen Sound, if I remember correctly, he had a rough go on the dot, and I don't know if this was just again because Paris is out, they've got to make some mix and match the lines, and he actually had a really good game as well. And then that third line of Gallianov, Galyanov with Mason Ray and Mike Levin was also, Mason Ray has really come alive, especially physically. We wanted to see last year him use that big frame, and we're starting to see it a lot more on the forecheck as well. Galyanov's been all over, and my goodness, what a goal by him. We'll get into that in the goal summary as well. And another kind of standout. The fourth line tonight was Max Crete with Doherty as well as Rafik Dianov, but it was Doherty that had the nasty dish in tight to sauce it to Galyanov, who finished off a great backhand play. But I do want to point out that Max Crete moved up and down the lineup as well, and he was leaned on heavily on the power play, and he's really becoming everything that kind of the OHL pundits kind of thought he would be when he was the second round selection of the draft this year, when again, people around the league kind of made note that the IceDogs had a heck of a draft in Waslin and Crete, and they have looked every bit the part so far. So I just want to give a quick point to Max, because he's been all over, and physically too, not backing down from anyone. It's just so much fun after getting to meet him and seeing what his personality is like. He does not strike me as a normal 16-year-old. Just all over it all the time, and it's good to see that he isn't going through a phase where he's struggling offensively, because he's having a great offensive season in his rookie year.
He absolutely is, up to 5 goals now, and we'll get into the goal summary and everything like that in a little bit. But we're going to start off here with our game stats, brought to you by Gales Gas, your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. Not just a gas station, they're a local tradition, because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gales with multiple locations across Niagara. Cam, the shots on net, 11-5 for Ottawa in the first. We'll talk about the penalties. That was a lot to do with that lopsided number there. The IceDogs 19-11 in the second and 18-7 in the third, and then the 2 in overtime. Overall, 44-29 in favor of the home side, and this was a game where the IceDogs were shorthanded 7 times before they were able to get their first man advantage. So the fact that they outshot the 67's by 15, despite all of that, is pretty wild.
I'll be honest with you, from start to finish, this was probably the IceDogs' best game. And the fact that they had to kill 7 straight penalties, but I believe it was 6 in the first period alone, with a 5-on-3 thrown in there as well. And again, just I don't want to do a lot of ref talk, because we did that in the Owen Sound game, where that was borderline dangerous. But this one was a lot of it just wasn't called on both sides. Again, it was a lot of things that you see a million times in the game, and that's fine if you want to call a game tight, but we didn't see it go both ways. And when you watch enough hockey, when a team gets 6 or 7 straight penalties, you breed on someone wrong, and you usually get a call. And it was wild. We just didn't get. And it's not like the IceDogs were getting hemmed in their zone, weren't doing enough to move their legs and get calls. Like, this was borderline nuts. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest with you. And they just kept the hammer down. The second that they were even strength, I mean, Ottawa was just having a heck of a time when their first line wasn't out there. And even when it was hard matched against Kevin and Loshko and Ryan Robrick. And I think that they had a tough time at even strength. But when you think about, I would love to see the ice time, because in that first period, Kevin and Loshko played half the period shorthanded. And the problem with that, when they did such a good job, I mean, they gave up 1 power play goal, I believe. But the problem is that when they're back to even strength, those guys aren't on the ice now. They've been killing the penalties, right? And again, that just kind of is a true testament to how good the team is now in terms of forward depth. But my goodness, the ability to persevere in this one was crazy, and just to overcome all of those calls. Now, the penalties, I think, ended up being 8-5 at the end of the game.
8-6.
8-6. So there was a lot in the third period that went the IceDogs' way. And again, I think that most of them were earned, but there was a lot of at the end where it was they were taking 1 instead of 2 in terms of scrums and things like that. Henry Muse had I think 4 minor penalties, at least 3, and they were all stick infractions. So he had a kind of a rough game. I know he had a roughing call. It was 4 minor penalties alone by himself. So, I said it to you. I leaned over. The way that the game was going, I thought that if they could get 1 goal, they could get 3. Now, this was back when it was, 2-1, but, they make it 4-1 and, kind of looked like they were going to run out the clock. Great structure, by the way. You mentioned that Dave Cameron, great coach, and he's always going to be in line for the World Junior job for Team Canada. But you see it, they don't really make a lot of mistakes. Like, there wasn't a lot of breakaways that weren't manufactured via Kevin He, just being Kevin He. But, I just think that was a character win, and my goodness, exciting.
Yeah, they were down 4-1 in this game. We'll get into that in a little bit. 2 for 8 for Ottawa on the power play, as you mentioned. 2 for 6 for Niagara after, again, they had taken 6 in the first period, which was pretty wild to see, and just weren't able to really roll the 4 lines that they would want to for at least a period.
I do want to bring this up. There were a couple of bad, this was an undisciplined game by Niagara to start.
Yeah.
There was a Gallianov's tripping call along the boards. Robrick got called for, I believe it was cross-checking, and it was after the face-off, so, there was a bit of a scrum, and Ryan kind of gave an extra shot. So, that can sometimes be called, sometimes it's not. Like I said, they were calling everything, and that's fine, but it's just got to go both ways, and it didn't start going both ways until halfway through the game. So, again, it was frustrating to watch, and at one point it was 4-1 in the third period, right? So, it just kind of felt like it was too little too late, but this was definitely an undisciplined game by the IceDogs. A little bit, and that's going to happen. And I think that as they get better, we talked about this a little bit. The team hasn't won a lot, and you've got to learn how to win or play with the lead. And they didn't have a single lead tonight, so just a ton of battle back, and it was great to see. Yeah,
it was, and the face-offs 37-31 in favor of the IceDogs. Their leading man tonight in that department was Lashko. He took 31 faceoffs tonight. He was 21 of 31. Asadorian 8 of 16. Mason Ray 4 of 12. And a few other guys with 5 or less. But Andre Lashko, he got 2 assists tonight. But when you look at it, 21 of 31 on the dot. That's pretty impressive.
I was trying to take a mental note throughout the game of the important draws.
Right.
And Lashko really didn't lose one where, offensive zone on the power play late in the game, in the defensive zone on the penalty kill, the 5-on-3 specifically, where you've got to have the draw, because if you don't, you're pretty toast, because I believe it was like a 43-second 5-on-3. It wasn't a short amount, right? No. And Lashko was able to win that and then clear the puck down. So great to see him. He has 14 points in seven games. Obviously outdone by Kevin with his now league leading 18 points in 7 games. Lashko's right behind him with 14, and my goodness, after training camp, he wasn't even a thought. This was just a waiver claim that happened real late before the season. I think it was 3 days before the first game. I don't know if it was that late, but it was after training camp. We were here, I believe. So just a great job again by him throwing him into the lineup, and I hate to see where they'd be without him, but my goodness, are they humming?
They are humming right now, and it's just fun to see because, as we mentioned, this was a game the last couple of years that the IceDogs down 4-1.
7-1.
And Dave Cameron starting the bus after the second period, and the 67's are just working it around, cycling, and just wearing out the clock. And they weren't able to do that tonight. Again, as you mentioned, large part to them shooting themselves in the foot in the third period with the penalties, and the IceDogs earning those penalties with a couple of great plays by Kevin He, just drawing penalties because of his elite speed and forcing Ottawa to take tripping penalties and things like that. But when you're down 4-1, to be able to come back even on home ice despite being down so many power plays at that point, that just shows the resiliency of this team that we most likely haven't seen since that 2018-2019 team.
No, absolutely, and they're winning now. Again, the wins that they had. So against North Bay, for example, they get up 5-1. And they almost blew it, to be honest with you. Like what happened with Owen Sound, their only loss, and then Brampton, that was kind of an easier win because they got up to such a big lead. And then the road trip was a lot of great moments as well in terms of coming from behind. But they're winning in all different ways. Like, I don't know how many times we've seen an overtime win on home ice in the last 3 seasons. Just like it felt like, okay, you got to overtime. At least we got the point. That is what it is. And my goodness, what a finish tonight.
It absolutely was. We'll get into it more here with our scoring summary brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in Niagara since 1983. Check out their up-to-date job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. As we mentioned, the 67's got on the board first here on a Luca Pinelli shot from the right circle on the power play. Tip your cap to the Columbus Blue Jackets prospect. Him and Cooper Foster definitely the two to watch on this 67's team because they can score at will if given the opportunity.
Well, like we said, Kevin and Lashko were having to kill penalties a ton, but when they were at even strength, they went head-to-head with Pinelli and Cooper Foster in that first line for Ottawa, and they really didn't generate a ton. And it just goes to show like that. While you have those elite players, I think Ottawa's depth is going to be tested a little bit. They've had some great runs, so that's just kind of expected in their cycle. But still have to be reminded that they've got a couple of great players over there.
And then, what a play here. I know you're going to talk about the setup, but Ivan Galyanov gets his second, and a guy that got the monkey off the back last game finally gets another one here, and we said once he gets one, he might start rolling a little bit. Ivan Galyanov takes the pass from Sean Doherty and goes in backhand to even the game up, but I know you loved the setup there by Doherty.
I'll be honest, the finish was fantastic as well. Like the backhand, the poise to keep that on the backhand in tight, that was a great finish by Gally, but yeah, that setup. And again, Doherty's kind of the forgotten man here right now with all of the moves. There wasn't a ton of moves done in the offseason outside of the defense. Obviously, the defense getting completely redone. But the forward core has kind of remained intact over the last few years, other than adding via draft, right? And he was just kind of a forgotten man after Vermeulen got moved. After training camp, and he's not getting top-line minutes or anything like that, but he has done a really good job to kind of give the bottom six some offense. And we talked about after, I believe, the Owen Sound game, we need to see something out of the bottom six, or if this team is going to have a hard time when Kevin and Ryan and Loshko aren't going, they've got to find some depth scoring. And again, that was a nasty play. That was not an ugly goal by any stretch, so good to see them kind of connect on that.
Yeah, underrated Doherty. He's been up and down the lineup, but he played on the second line last game.
Yeah.
And he's shown that he's a bottom six player, but he's been able to set up a few goals here. That's an underrated pickup there by the management.
No, and I think that the one thing that, I can't speak for other IceDog fans, but, I think that in prior years they were just trying to make moves, to try and shake things up. They wanted to try and find wins via trades, and they've been pretty hands-off. Knock on wood, start the season so far, there hasn't been any trades since the Doherty trade, and that was before the season started when they moved Vermeulen, I believe. That he didn't get a game. So I love that they're not going in, trying to make additions already. They're 6-1. Let this group kind of cook, and it's just really come together because they're all having impacts. There isn't a player on the roster, that has really not had a moment. Even Deanov has had his moments throughout so far in limited ice time and play, but, just a really good job by them. And again, management as well for acquiring these guys.
And then things started to turn for the 67's there, another power play goal. They got two early on in the game and then weren't able to get any more later on. But Dever, Yanni, and Gerrois get the 3 goals for the 67's between 5 minutes and 14 seconds of the second, and all the way to 3 minutes and 47 seconds of the third. So the IceDogs went basically a period or so without scoring a goal. Anything you want to mention from the 367's goals?
Well, I mean, the backbreaker was that second goal. What was it? A minute apart? Like it wasn't very long apart. They gave up one to fall down 3-1, and then immediately gave up another goal to fall down 4-1, I believe. 26
seconds.
Yeah, 26. Now that looked like the backbreaker, and it was because that right before that third goal, there was a goal called off. If you weren't watching, there was, it's not going to show on the score sheet, but there was a goal called off that, again, this is when the 7 straight penalties was still going, which was just, it made this place go nuts. But there was I believe Asadorian got all alone in the slot, and goaltender made a great save on it. I believe it was Jay Nelson in net. Mm-hmm. He made a great save initially, but he did not have control of it. As we had a great vantage point here in the media box. And the puck's rolling behind him. Ref immediately whistled it, and it was in right after. And it looked like the game was tied. That could have changed everything, right? It gets called off, and no review. I was stunned just because it was egregious. He did not have control of it for
like
even
a half a second.
The ref just lost sight, and that happens, right? But no way to challenge it. And then they give up that third goal, and it's like, okay, like this is just not a night. This is hockey. Sometimes there's a lot of luck involved in hockey, and you can work as much as you want, and sometimes it just doesn't go. And again, that just goes to show they give up that third goal, and then a fourth one right away. It's like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah, it felt like that after you mentioned getting the elation of scoring and then instantly having it taken back. Mm-hmm. Again, this just goes to show the resiliency of this group this season, a little bit different than the last couple of years. So it's 4-1 67's at that point, as Cam put it. And then 6 minutes and 55 seconds into the third, the IceDogs started to get those power plays, and this was one of the goals that they were able to get. Max Creed, on a second effort, kind of rolling puck, is able to pot in his fifth goal from Mike Levin and Jack Brody. And what more can you say about Max Creed? As you mentioned earlier, Coach Ben Boudreau really trusts him, putting him out on the power play as a fourth-line player right now, but he's putting him in key situations on power play and penalty kill. And the second-round rookie, the 16-year-old, is up to 5 goals already.
No, I know, and they're not. They're all the ugly goals that we didn't see last year. Like we said how many times. You had Ryan and Kevin just potting them all, and they were all nice snipes. It wasn't a lot of ugly ones, and it was 4-1. And they get that one goal, and the whole, again, this was from the games that I've seen in person and even watching on television, like other than the Brampton game, I think that was a complete game. This was the best they played. And it was so frustrating because the 7 straight penalties, it's hard to overcome that, And they get that goal, and it's like, oh man, like they are really humming this whole game. And sure enough, Max starts it, and throughout that, before that goal went in, like he's barking at anyone. Like Mayich was an NHL drafted player, giving it to him. He's 16 years old, right? Like this isn't, and he's not Zada Rubrick. He's
afraid.
Not, you know what I mean? He's not Zada Rubrick. He's not 6'1" or 6'2" at 16, and he is just itching. And instantly, I don't know who it was. Someone told us at the draft that he would be the fan favorite in a year.
Adam Henrich, the director of scouting.
Yeah, he said that he is going to be the fan favorite in Niagara in a season, and he's quickly becoming that.
Shout out to one of the head scouts, David Robertson, for finding him up in the Ottawa area. Some of those guys in the Ottawa area might not get as much attention as the guys in the GTA, but great job by David Robertson to really find Max Creed, and he looks like he's a gem right now as a second rounder.
Well, it's just like, again, it's that kind of all the pieces fitting, right? They don't have, I guess it'd be Gallianov, who was kind of the agitator that had a bit of a scoring touch. But I think Crete might have a little bit more offensive flair to him, and maybe even more of an aggressive flair to him as well, right? Like Gally is, you can hear him up in the press box on the bench. He gives it to everyone. He's got probably the best chirps, at least in terms of talking on the bench. But it's just he has been a pleasant surprise and exactly what the IceDogs needed.
Yeah, I think they're changing over for a concert here at the Meridian Centre or some sort of event. So we apologize for any background noise that you might hear on the postgame. That's not Bill Potters from BPSN, who is up here in the press box with us writing this postgame story. But anyways, as you mentioned, the score wasn't indicative of how they were playing because it was not a 4-1 game for Ottawa. It could have been way worse than that, given the IceDogs had 7 penalties to start. Ottawa could have been up 4-5-1. The game could have been over.
And no Flores. Like, this is Robertson again, right? Who is, again, with a tough task. Flores comes out with that unbelievable start to the year, and then Robertson comes in, and it's that tough loss to Owen Sound, because even their one loss was a 1-goal game where they outplayed them, at least in the back half. They had a really rough start. Robertson, they have that, they almost blow it to North Bay, and, he did a great job tonight just kind of keeping them in it in a situation where, like I said, 7 straight penalties. Like, you're rarely ever going to overcome that.
All right, so continuing on with the goal summary here, and this is wild ending to this game in the third period, as the Meridian Centre staff agrees. Kevin He gets the goal from Andre Lashko and Andrew Wysick on the power play, 15-13. So less than 5 minutes to go in the game. The IceDogs down by a pair. First one by Kevin He. What did you think of that one?
I mean, they're almost mirror images. I said this to you last year. He had did he not? I hate. It's hard talking about Kevin because you say he, but Kevin. So I was trying to use Kevin. Kevin last year, he led the OHL in shots. It was over 200.
It was him and Donovan McCoy, I think, that were 1-2.
They were close, but I noticed it this year and in training camp. Obviously he's bigger, and his skating is always going to be the thing that you notice the most of him, but his shot is very accurate this year, and you're seeing it immediately because both of those goals are just picks upstairs from an angle on his offhand at the face-off dot where he does not have a lot to shoot at. The first one, I believe, was far side as well, which is even a harder play to make as a left-handed forward, and just that the crowd gets into it. He gets into it. The bench is going nuts. Like you kind of felt like, all right, with 3 minutes to go, like this could happen.
IceDogs down 4-3, and at the 17:01 mark, just under 3 minutes to go, Kevin He pots his second of the game, ninth of the season, assisted by Jack Brody and Ryan Robrick. And the Winnipeg Jets fourth rounder just seems like he has another gear this year, and he's putting it on display here, being able to get the IceDogs at least a point in this game.
I think we're watching something that we haven't had since like Akil Thomas or Tomasino, in the sense of like an NHL. When you come to an OHL game and you see someone who is drafted in the NHL, and regardless, they're always going to be the kind of standouts, whether it's their skating, their shot. Like you can kind of tell. This is like, but then there's also players that will never make it to the NHL, right? And we're way ahead of that, like way ahead of ourselves. But he is becoming something special. He's 2 points up on Porter Martone, who is hands down going to be a top 5 consensus pick in the NHL draft this year. And there is games where this game he legitimately just carried them. He said, give me an opportunity and I won't miss. And he did it twice in the final 5 minutes in a game that the whole team dominated. And we're going to hear from head coach Ben Madreau. He didn't have the good first period. Like they were locked up. The top line, again, they killed the penalties for 14 minutes there, but they're on 5-on-5. They just really weren't generating a ton. And we're running out of stuff to say about him, because this is becoming absurd at this point. I don't think he has a game where he didn't record a point yet.
I will fact check while you're still talking here.
Yeah, just like an unbelievable finish, and then in overtime as well, he almost got a penalty shot. I mean, you're not going to see that as well, but he drew a penalty at least in overtime. And to get the 5-on-3, because I believe the first one they got was a 5-on-3. It was Kevin breaking the puck in, and it was a full 4-man trap at the blue line. And sometimes Kevin has a penchant for kind of trying to do everything himself. And last year we saw it a lot. And, maybe he doesn't have the confidence to finish it off, and he would lose the puck, things like that. He made a move to cut through the defenseman and split them that, again, few people in this league are going to be able to do. And draws the tripping call to get the 5-on-3 going before he gets his goal. And he did the same thing in overtime, just kept skating, drove the net, I believe it was going to be a penalty, not a penalty shot.
Right.
But then it led to that whole, like, Loshko gets the puck, a big save, and then the rebound kicked right out to Brody.
Yeah, and Jack Brody getting his first goal as a Niagara IceDog. He's had many chances, but can't storybook that one any better. I know they were going to get the power play, and Kevin really, generated that with his elite speed. But for Jack Brody to be able to get that rebound and pot it in, that must have felt really good for him.
Well, we talked and heard the entire offseason that the IceDogs wanted to go get Jam on defense. They redid the entire decor outside of Andrew Wysick. And so far, we've seen Wysick be extremely offensive. There's sometimes where it's even like, but the team is starting to buy into that. Like, I'm noticing Asadorian and whoever the centerman is, or just dropping right back to the point almost when he goes in. And last year, it was kind of an adventure when he would do it, because Wysick will get right down below the goal line on break-ins. But you would think that everything goes through him offensively, and the other 5 are there to make sure that, you're not getting an easy shot on net, and they've done a great job of that. But Brody has been surprisingly offensive. That is he now has 9 points in 7 games, and I don't think we expected that at all. Obviously he isn't completely devoid of offense, but again, I don't think that it was expected that this decor would have a couple of options offensively so far to start the season.
No, Brody's been fantastic, and he's been the power play quarterback tonight. Yes. You saw first power play unit was Waslin Loshko. He up front with Ryan Rubrick as the fourth forward on D, with Jack Brody as the only real defenseman on the power play unit, and he's really showing that he does it in the entire 200 feet of the ice.
No, and again, like, that's kind of a testament too, because again, you got Wysick, who's just, you'd think that is gonna run everything, and I think that most games you're still gonna see that. It's funny, we didn't talk about this, like the Paris injury. Again, he's not the focal point of his lines, but when you remove him, it really jumbles things up on the power play, and they've clearly decided to load the first power play. They bring Waslin up, Robrick's on the point, Kevin and Loshko, right? And then I believe it was Wysick for the most part, but Brody tonight. But the second power play unit,
Crete scored.
Exactly, Crete scored on it, right? So you're getting, and again, there's no Gavin Bryant yet, and there's no and there's no Matthew Parrish right now. So I thought Levin also had a pretty good game. I think he's been a little snake bitten. We haven't seen the same Levin that we had last year, where he was leaned on far too much, I think. He gets to be in the secondary scoring role, and we're starting to see him play with a little bit more confidence, and I thought tonight he looked much better.
He did, and again, I think once he breaks out, he's a guy that can go on a 4 or 5 game goal streak there. You know what I mean? Like, he can score for consecutive games when he finally gets going, but just, again, trying to break through that right now for Mike Levin. But going back to Kevin He, as far as the breakdown for his points go in every game, 2-2-1-6, 3-1-3. So he has
every game.
And every game he's gotten a point.
That is, yeah, I mean, I would love to see if it's great. Like, it's just fun. Honest to God, like, we're running out of things to say about him.
Yep.
But it's every night now when we come to watch a game, whether you're on the road or at home, you expect, okay, the IceDogs are going to get one. He's going to have an opportunity. And again, I think that the biggest difference that I've noticed year over year is definitely his shot much more accurate. There's a lot more on it, and goalies are having a heck of a time. I mean, we saw him beat Ryerson Linders completely clean against, Ivan Kovic, completely clean in that game against Brampton on a 2-on-2. And this season's going to be very fun regardless of what happens, and he's going to be a big part of it.
We're going to hear more from IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau in the second part of today's show, as well as Cam's player of the game later on, brought to you by Hockey Stick Man. So stay right here. I'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Back after this.
In the Niagara region, Global Pet Foods is your destination for premium pet nutrition and caring expertise. Whether you've welcomed a new furry family member or need advice on top quality nutrition, their dedicated staff is ready to help. Discover why Global Pet Foods' lesser-known premium brands outshine the big corporate names. Their team's passion ensures your pet's health and vitality. Check out one of their locations today: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where premium brands and caring staff make the difference.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
The great guys over at Hockey Stick Man are sponsoring this video. If you play hockey but are sick of paying upwards of $400 for top-end sticks, check these guys out. There is seriously no better place to shop. The guys are fun, easy, and offer a stress-free experience from start to finish. They get pro stock sticks from major junior teams right up to the NHL teams and sell them for half the price that the same stick would sell for at a retail store. To further support their mission of saving hockey families money, they offer closeout options, which entail taking last year's retail models and blowing them out for less than wholesale prices. It's literally the best prices on the internet for their sticks. And the best sticks of all may be their Pro Blackout series, which provide a top-end stick with no graphics and literally less than half the price of a branded top-end retail model. It's always been their best-selling stick despite super cool pro stock options. It's a no-brainer to shop with these guys, and trust me, they are beauties. Head over to hockeystickman.ca/thearmchairgm and get $15 off your first order. That's hockeystickman.ca/thearmchairgm to get an additional $15 off your first order when you sign up on their website. Check out our friends at Hockey Stick Man.
Fuel up your day with Gale's Gas Bars. They're your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. Remember, at Gale's, they're not just a gas station, they're a local tradition. Whether you're hitting the road or staying cozy at home, choose Gale's. Gale's Gas Bars provide reliable fuel that keeps you moving. Stop in for quality you can trust and service with a smile. Don't settle for less. Head to Gale's Gas Bars today, because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gale's! Learn more at gales.ca.
This is Kevin He.
This is Brady Waslin.
This is Ethan Zader.
It's Owen Flores.
This is the Dog Pound Podcast.
The official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Niagara IceDogs game recap, right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are back with you, continuing to break down a wild 5-4 overtime victory for the Niagara IceDogs over the always well-coached Ottawa 67's and Dave Cameron. Always a thorn in the IceDogs side on the opposing bench. But thank you to everybody watching tonight, right after the game on YouTube Live on our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell to be notified whenever we do go live once again. Thank you to everybody listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Cam, before we go anywhere further, it's going to be, we're going to hear from head coach Ben Boudreau and everything like that and get your stick tap of the game. But it's a good day tomorrow at Global Pet Foods and all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Free dog treats at any of the 4 locations of Global Pet Foods here in the Niagara region. Go in tomorrow, tell them the Dog Pound Podcast sent you, and you can get a free dog treat for your little furry friend because of this IceDogs victory. Again, only available Friday, so if you're listening to this the next day, Friday, head down to one of their 4 locations, 2 in St. Catharines, 1 in Niagara Falls, and 1 in Fun Hill. Get yourself a free dog treat, courtesy of the Dog Pound Podcast, but we didn't really do any of the work. The Niagara IceDogs did that for us. So again, free dog treats at Global Pet Foods Friday only. After, and this is going to be a promotion after every IceDogs home victory. So check that out.
Love to hear that. Summer and myself will be heading on down there. My big German Shepherd. So excited about that. And thanks to our partners at Global Pet Foods.
Absolutely. So with that, do you want to mention anything before we hit to head coach Ben Boudreau? Maybe something you want to mention about the standings? I know we didn't bring that up at the beginning, that the IceDogs once again for a second straight week are 8th place in the CHL Top 10 Power Rankings. Didn't let it affect them tonight because they come away with the win, but it's nice to see that Niagara continues to not let those things get ahead of them. But you know they're going to get the best effort from everybody else in the league right now.
No, absolutely. And I expected after the Owen Sound loss for them to, okay, maybe they're going to fall down a little bit, but they stayed 8th, I believe. Just the only hard part about the Niagara IceDogs start is the fact the Central Division is just loaded. Brampton currently, which was the consensus number 1 team in the country, is in last place with 8 points in 7 games. For comparison, the IceDogs have 12 points in 7 games. So 4 points separate first and last, and Brampton, again, is expected to... I mean, I don't know if they... Yeah, no, they're still expected to win the division, but nonetheless, the IceDogs giving them all the trouble. And Barrie, North Bay, Sudbury, we would expect North Bay to sell off, later part of the year, but, the Central Division is just so difficult right now, and they've got to keep banking these points. Early on in the season, we were like, 3 points back of a playoff spot, that's okay. And now we're looking at, we're 5 points up on a playoff spot right now, you know what I mean? It's odd territory. It is very weird to come into the arena and expect a win after the last couple of years. And, like I said, tonight, they get down 4-1. You immediately like, ugh. Max Cree towards that goal, makes it 4-2, and you're like, ooh, I think they might come back here. It's just so much fun. It is. And obviously OHL teams go through cycles. But my goodness, is it fun for anyone that's, maybe has stayed away the last couple of years because of how it's gone. Come out to an IceDogs game. You're going to get a heck of a show regardless.
It has been fun here at the Meridian Centre through the first 7 games. And again, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. 61 games to go, but an encouraging start from what we've seen in the past couple of years. So with that said, we're going to get to our Wild Bills Auto Repair post-game. Helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. Here is the IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau following his team's comeback performance and victory in overtime against the Ottawa 67's. Let's hear what he has to say.
I'm prepared to ask you about the refereeing, but we can go to that later. Listen, I have a feeling that maybe last year that win doesn't happen. How gratifying was it to see that team not give up and then come back like that?
Well, I mean, you're always going to be happy with a win, no matter how it comes. And so, one, that's an easy thing. When you win, you feel pretty good. But the way it happened, much rather see a group of players believe in themselves all the way to the end. I thought we played 60 minutes all the way to the end. Now, not every picture painted is a Picasso, but for us, the result is exactly what we came here for. So, no matter how it happened, I thought the way we played tonight, we didn't play with a lead the entire game until the final game winner. So resiliency all the way to the end, and there's a lot of buzz in that room right now.
For sure. Kevin, that's what you need him to do. How important is it that he literally picked that team up by himself almost there?
There's no question. There's a fine line of trying to do it all yourself and wanting to do it by yourself, and you need your teammates to get you in those positions. And, to be honest, I pulled Kevin in with his line after the first and second intermission. Didn't love him through 2 periods, but at the end of the day, game breakers will do just that, is break the game wide open. And, he got stunned in the first 2 periods. I thought they did a great job of taking him away, but it's tough to keep a good man down, and he found a way to crack it open at the end.
Absolutely. It was really tough early. 7 penalties in a row, a lot of penalty killing. What does that do to a team when you're constantly killing penalties like that? Hard to get into a groove, isn't it?
Well, your top guys are playing too much, and your bottom end guys aren't playing enough, and now you have a hot and cold mixture, and you want to find some rhythm to the game, and I didn't think we found it. And, it was a frustrating thing, and I've already been fined by the league, not the Ontario Hockey League and professional hockey, talking about the referees, so I'm going to kind of keep it out their mouth, especially the fact that we won. But I think our big bugaboo that we're looking at is having the same call go both ways, understanding what the margin is and going inside. And I just thought that was the frustrating thing, is that the same call on us wasn't the same on them. But we found a way to win at the end, and I'm sure Ottawa wasn't too happy with the reffing in the third, with the amount of power plays we ended up getting. But at the end of the day, it's a wash, and we came out with the 2 points.
Sure, and as a coach, when that happens, you got to stick up for your players. But by the same token, if you lose your cool too much, sometimes they lose their cool. So where's that line? Because it is tough sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, and I said my piece after the second, and I saw the referee on last Friday's game, Reed, he wasn't too happy. He made the, killed the play with Asadorian in the goalie exchange on the 6-on-5, and kind of saw that one coming a little bit. So at the start of the third, I had to talk to him. Cairns a great ref. He's been around, mutual respect, and sometimes you got or get heated, and so I just explained to him what we saw and why I was flipping out, and we had a mutual understanding, and didn't hear a peep about me after. And I think that comes with maturity and experience, is understanding that the referee is a person, and they also have feelings at the same time too, and they're not going to want to help somebody out that's constantly trying to embarrass them and bicker them. So I thought I got my point across, and once I did, I laid off them and put the head to bed pretty happy there tonight.
For sure. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Speak about Charlie during this game. Obviously, you might have wanted to have a couple of those back, but when you're hemmed in your zone for 7 straight power plays and your goaltender really keeps you in there, they only get 1 of 7 to start off. How big was he tonight in that?
I thought Charlie was good at the end of the day. Whether you shake it one way or the other. He's got 2 wins back-to-back games here, so that's what we're looking for, and found a difference. And you could look at one of the 4 goals and say we want this one or back. What I'm thinking about is 1 second to go after tying it up, and he made a huge point-blank grade A save in this slot, and that's what your goalie needs to show up at the right times, and Charlie did just that for us. So great to see him go 2-1 as far as his first 3 games played.
How happy were you and the team for Jack Brody? He was flying out there tonight, really did a lot, and then finally gets his first goal, adding 2 assists, big OT winner in that spot. Just how happy are you for him coming in here?
Well, really happy, but I know a lot of people won't see this, but we actually changed the starting defenseman from Wysick to Jack Brody just based on the way he was playing. We had set lines for overtime, and sometimes you earn those ice times, and sometimes they're handed to you a little bit. I thought Jack really earned his ice time and got rewarded tonight. He was just in it. He's an ultimate gamer. I thought it was an unbelievable trade from the management, and you have to give them credit to bring Jack and Scotty in. They're huge pieces to the puzzle tonight, but great job by the squad, especially Jack.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
There was IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on the Wild Bills auto repair postgame. Cam, I know you really wanted to talk about what he brought up there with originally having Wysick on that 3-on-3 to start overtime and switching it with Brody, who was on the second pair with Colin Chanowski. Brody also runs the top power play unit, but What did you think of what the coach had to say?
Well, I think that, when it comes to stuff like this is what it's nice to see of a coach, where you take analytics or just, stick to hard game plans out. Brody had a great game, and it's refreshing to hear that, head coach Boudreau has stated since he became the head coach that if a player is going above and beyond and really working his butt off, that he's going to get rewarded with it, or, reprimanded and lose ice time if he's not really in it. And tonight was a fantastic decision. I mean, he gets rewarded. That was a pretty crazy call, in terms of lose Wysick and you get Brody gets the end goal. That might have been a perfect ending. But nonetheless, he earned it from just fantastic play, start to finish, and he was really a catalyst. We don't talk about it. Kevin gets the love because of those 2 goals, but he was at the top of the point. I believe the first shot was he took it on the power play that ended up getting blocked, that ended up going to Kevin for the goals. Nonetheless, he was a fantastic player tonight. He gets rewarded with the goal in overtime, but I love that the coach is saying that, you play well, you're going to get rewarded, and he stuck by in a situation where, the game is on the line. This isn't, okay, we're up by 3, you're going to get power play minutes. This is overtime. You had a great game. You're going to hop over the boards first. That's an incredible call by the coach, and we're really seeing, everything come together.
And he's not afraid to reward players that have played a great game. We've seen it with guys maybe in the bottom 6 or even some defensemen that you wouldn't expect to be out there late in games early in this year. He makes them earn it, and if they're continuing to do well, he's going to give them those extra opportunities, and he did that with Brody. That's why I brought it up to him in the post game.
No, absolutely, and we've seen it throughout the year. I mean, Flores getting the first 4 starts. That wasn't the plan. He just said, if a goalie's going to win for us, we're gonna ride him, and that's just another example. So he keeps that up, and that recognition from the players in the dressing room is going to bleed down the lineup. And again, obviously there are going to be nights where they're going to get carried by their best players. All teams are going to have nights like that. And you get the bottom 6 or the bottom 4 defensemen, and you have a great game. You're going to get rewarded, and I don't see that changing at all. So just a great job. This was a fantastic performance, top to bottom, again, from the players, the coaching staff, and the management in how this team has come together so far. It's been a blast to watch so far.
Anything you want to mention when he brought up the officiating and making sure that he laid off them a little bit and obviously had to work through it, not just as players, but himself, making sure that he was level-headed. Bill Patras asked him about that at the beginning from BPSN, about staying level-headed and making sure that his players didn't get too overboard as well. But when you've got 7 power plays to 0 and then you have a disallowed goal, it really takes a lot to keep your head level at that point, and I think he did a good job tonight.
Absolutely. And again, I wasn't here for the North Bay game, but the Owen Sound game, that was another egregious, again, ref talk, but that was another one where he had to. There comes a point where you have to stand up for your players as well. It's not just, complaining about not getting calls. If something's not safe for your players or things like that, you really you gotta toe the line. And he's showing maturity as a coach for doing that. I thought he did a great job tonight. Again, reminding him that, you've got 7. That disallowed goal call is just, I don't know how you go ballistic. And I felt for the team because, they worked hard to get back at exactly. They had 7 straight penalty kills, and again, they earned quite a few of those calls. But nonetheless, they tie it up and it immediately get called off. No review. Just a wild sequence in a game that they should have lost based on everything outside of their own hands. And the coaching staff, including Ben Boudreau, has done a great job dealing with that.
Everything kind of went against them tonight, except for later in the third period when they were able to get those other power plays. And again, they still earned a point and then earned that second point, which was just great to see, given everything that happened in tonight's game. But before we get out of here, we're going to get Cam's Stick Tap of the Game, brought to you by Hockey Stick Man. Pro stock hockey sticks for major junior teams up to NHL teams for half the retail price. Stress-free shopping experience from start to finish. Check them out today at hockeystickman.ca to join their mission of saving hockey families money. Cam, a lot of good options tonight. Who do you got?
Jack Brody. This was a great game for him. Offensively, like I mentioned earlier on, I don't think that his offense was going to be the focal point of him being in there. Again, I think he was there to solidify the D-core that just was pushed around a lot last year. And Wysick was probably going to be the one that was leaned on offensively. It doesn't seem to be the case. And Brody's really slotting in to becoming a really all-around great defenseman for the IceDogs, and head coach Boudreau talked about, great job by the management to get him there, and I think that that's an underrated trade that around the league needs to be, noticed as a great addition to the team, and he's really fitting in there. So great job. I also want to give a shout out to Max Creed again, a 16-year-old. He's being put in position because he's earned it. Again, not out of necessity, but he is just. It blows me away that he's 16 years old. Again, the mentality to go up against anyone else is just, his willingness to fight for his teammates. He's buzzing around the net. Waslin's looks so good offensively, and you can see that flair, right? Like why he might go in the first round, early projections or whatever. But Max has done a great job also. I want to give a shout out to him as well. Yeah,
I figured your unsung hero is going to be Doherty tonight.
I'll be honest with you, that unbelievable feed. And again, it just goes to show that it's everyone in the lineup having a moment, and that's special, something that we just have not experienced. So, I got to give him credit on that. That was one of the nicer plays.
Yeah, Jack Brody, again, that was a big trade in the offseason, and the IceDogs caught some flack for the amount of things that they gave up with the draft picks and Podrekar and Frolov going to Flint, and then Bertucci, the best player, quote-unquote, in the trade, getting flipped to a division rival in Barrie. Jack Brody coming here is a little bit of an unknown, just wasn't getting that ice time with Marty Williamson's club in Barrie, but showing why he was so highly coveted.
Hand up, I was frustrated when they moved Frolov because I thought that we saw some things. You played a 16-year-old on the back end the entire season. He developed, and I thought that just given the cycle that they're in, that was just a weird move. It felt like all the moves they made in the prior years where it was a move to make a move. And boy, was I wrong. Jack Brody has been everything that we need him to be, and I can't wait to see the rest of the season and how this plays out because, when everyone's back, it's when Gavin's back, and it's just going to make things very interesting.
Absolutely. So we'll be back at it on Sunday afternoon when the Kingston Frontenacs are in town. The IceDogs tomorrow or today, if you're listening to this in the audio version, play in Kitchener tonight. So 3 games in 4 nights. Tough stretch, but the IceDogs are 6-1 right now on the OHL season. Cam, thanks for doing this. Look forward to Sunday.
Can't wait.
That's going to wrap up another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Make sure to stop in tomorrow or today, on whatever day you're listening to, Friday after the win, to get a free dog treat for your furry friend, courtesy of all 4 Global Pet Foods locations. For Cam Halbert, my name is Brandon Caputo. Thank you to everybody that tuned in live on our YouTube live stream from the Meridian Centre. And we're going to sign off here. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you again after Sunday's game against the Kingston Frontenacs.